Journaling has this almost sort of mythic status in our culture. The words call up romanticized images of writers in attic rooms, scribbling insights at old desks, or perhaps bohemian adventurers jotting down occasional observations in leather bound notebooks as they sort of stare out of train windows. And so I feel like journaling is this thing, especially as creatives and especially as writers, since journaling is a writing format, journaling feels like this thing that we know we're supposed to be doing. We hear all the time that it has incredible benefits, psychologically, it can be used for our writing practice, et cetera, et cetera. And so many of us dream of a consistent journaling practice, but the realization of that dream proves to be elusive. And I think not only do few of us actually do journaling, but I think few of us don't really even know either where to start or how to maintain and sustain a journaling practice. And to either make matters, I guess, better or worse, there's always some trendy new journaling method that seems to pop up on social media or just kind of in the culture. Am I supposed to be doing bullet journaling? Am I supposed to be doing gratitude journaling? All those kinds of things sort of swirling around in the ether. Should I download the dozens of new journaling apps that seem to come out every year? And I know all of us can relate to this, all of us writers. Will that, special pen or that fresh notebook emblazoned with an inspirational saying, will this be, the magical ingredient that will unlock the hidden journaler inside of me? Uh, yeah, I know I've had that experience plenty of times. So the answer, sadly, is probably not. It's not that a journaling practice doesn't need the right tools. It certainly does. And spending some time experimenting with different tools and approaches is time well spent. The sooner you can figure out which tools support your practice and which tools hinder or procrastinate it, the better. In my own journaling practice, actually, I thought I would show you, just to start out, a couple of the tools I use, like how I journal as a person. So the tools that have worked for me are, first of all, just basic markers. Yeah, pens, right? My thing was covering the chat for a minute. Hey, everybody. Yes, coffee and writing. I've got my massive mug of coffee. Um, no, I've totally got all my favorite pens. So I'll show you in a little bit how I use my markers. I've got my favorite brand of pen, which is just the Precise rollerball pen. And then I actually use blank. I have this disgusting old manila folder labeled blank paper, and I just use loose leaf graph paper. I just take out a new sheet and I start writing away. You'll see kind of as we go why I've adopted this journaling method, but for me, the more low stakes the tools are, the less intimidated I am by the process of journaling or starting to journal. If I'm just sort of using a sort of scrappy writing method, it's easier for me to just dive in and feel like journaling is what it should be, which is low stakes and high reward. Somebody in the chat says they can't see me, and I'm hoping that that's just a glitch, but that everybody can see and hear me. Will somebody let me know? Okay, Mona says, I see you. Great, thanks, Julie. I'm sorry, was that Joan? Hopefully your app will stop glitching, because I would love you to see. So then what I do is I have a little what's the word I want to use? Like a little ritual, how I start out journaling, which is I look up the word of the day on my dictionary app, or I just kind of scroll through the dictionary and look up a word. I choose a word that I want as like a talisman for my day. I write it in color with my little markers. I write down the definition, and then I use that as a prompt to start thinking about my day. And I collect all my little loose leaf pages in a little ring folder. So that's that. And hopefully, Joan, you're seeing some of the suggestions in the chat of how to jump off and on. Yes, Joanne, I agree. Proper tools are essential, and stationery stores are just like candy stores. Aren't they just awesome? But as someone personally, as someone who has sustained a daily journaling practice for the past 10 years and a regular journaling habit for really since childhood, pretty much since I could pick up a pen and think about stuff, I can confidently say that there's really no magical secret to establishing and maintaining your journaling practice. During my decades of journaling, I've reflected at length about the role of journaling in the lives of creative people. And the key to journaling is in that word itself, practice. Journaling is a practice. And that's what today's talk is going to be organized around. So I'm going to go ahead and share my screen. I will be monitoring, oops, I'll be monitoring the chat thread for the entire time. And so please feel free to just keep your questions and comments rolling along in the chat. Anytime you have a question, just jump out, or if you want to say something. I love one of my favorite things about teaching on Zoom is the chat thread, which is so fun. So I'm able to see that. Ooh, Joy, great tip. But here is our agenda for the day. So I'm going to start out by talking to you a little bit about my personal theory of journaling, kind of my, ideology of journaling or how I approach that. And then I'm going to talk a little bit about forms and functions. So how do people typically, what form does journaling typically take? That's sort of the why. Why do people typically embark on journaling? Then we'll talk a little bit about methods and modes, which is the how. What exactly logistically, how do people sit down and write? What kinds of writing on a literal level does journaling take? Throughout this discussion, as I'm introducing you to different concepts, we're going to pause and do some writing exercises and prompts based on some of these different journaling methods. So I hope that by the end of the class, you feel like you've come away from the class with just a really broad sense of some of the forms that you can journal in. And so if you're just starting out with journaling, pick the one that you gravitate toward. If you're an experienced journaler, maybe there's a new form or a new method that you want to try, or to kind of up level your journaling practice. Hopefully there's a couple of prompts that you can take away. Maybe there's a few things about either the history of journaling that you feel like you'll learn, or a couple of journalers that you want to pursue, people with published diaries and journals. And then what I really hope that we take away from the class is more of a conceptual framework of how to think about journaling in your daily life. And so that's where we're actually going to start today.